Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Reach Alliance podcast, Insights for Impact. And we're so excited to jump into the topic of accountability and the importance of ensuring youth have a seat at the table. My name is Jayden Battey. I'm part of the University of Melbourne Reach Alliance cohort. We researched last year based in India and had the immense privilege of working with communities and volunteers who are looking after people who experience isolation and those who experience mental illness or mental ill health. I'm an alumnus or an alumni, and I'm going to be heading to the Reach Alliance Toronto conference this November. I'm so excited to be there because we're actually going to be running a case competition where we get to kind of jump in deep and hone our skills as we kind of balance, our optimistic hopes for programs that make the world a better place for people, but also the pragmatism of just actually having to wrestle between tensions and finite resources and, the challenges that come with working often in really complex environments. I'm joined today by my fellow researchers, Sidney Muchemwa, Alyssia Sanchez, and Shreya Agarwal. Hey guys, I'm so excited you're here. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves.
So my name is Sidney Muchemwa. I am part of the Reach Alliance cohort for the year 12 at the University of Cape Town. And this year our research will be focusing on climate resilience for communities living in coastal areas, particularly focusing on small-scale fisher communities in South Africa.
So my name is Alyssia. I'm very excited to be here. I just wrapped up my MASc in biomedical engineering at the University of Toronto, and I was a part of Team India in the 2023 to 2024 cohort. Our case study looked at exploring how to improve access to government benefits for internal seasonal migrant workers.
Hi everyone. So I'm Shreya. I just finished my MSc in Sustainability Management, and I'm also part of University of Toronto. And my team this year was Team Mexico, and we explored alternative food networks and highlighting the importance of sustainability and traditional local food systems within the area. So excited to be here.
Thanks, Shreya. Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, today's episode is going to be focused on the topic of accountability and the importance of ensuring youth have a seat at the table. We recently attended the AFS Youth Assembly with the Reach Alliance just a couple of months ago, and the topic of youth having a seat at the table was a really important one. Shreya, what does it look like to make sure that the voices of young people, but also of people in local communities around the world, are involved in discussions about sustainability in the long term?
I think young voices are very important today. I think they can help frame the next SDG agenda and possibly have a lot to say in it. Youth participation, especially in academic and institutional spaces, is important. Not just like symbolic gestures, but more meaningful contribution to decision making. So I think utilizing online workshops, utilizing local community advisories, or even just local groups as a motivation and a place to put forth your opinion is a great start.
When people are speaking, it also takes people listening. Do you have any thoughts around what it takes for those of us who sit in halls to listen well?
It's important to learn as you go. I think education is it's an ongoing process, right? Like, we need to provide our perspective but at the same time, we need to learn for why there are hindrances, there are challenges, and how we can sort of move forward. Also, intergenerational learning is something that I hold very dear, listening to somebody who's maybe 10 years older than me and how they've seen the world versus someone who is 10 years younger than me and how they've seen the world, and how we can sort of create a mix of the two worlds together and, move sustainably forward. And there is no right or wrong over there. It's just about how open you are to sort of taking in some of that information.
Hey, Alyssia, you're a biomedical engineering student. Technology have completely revolutionized the way that we process information. When we think about the role of that in accountability, did any of those kind of themes around change, listening, voices, accountability, and the intersection with data and tech come up in your research?
Thanks, Jayden. This is a great question. So everyone knows data and tech are a huge part of our modern world, and they're only going to become more and more prevalent in our daily lives. And as a biomedical engineering student, my passion broadly is in the development and use of tech for social impact. And I'm especially interested in how these technologies are used ethically and responsibly. So, talking about accountability, I've learned how important data and tech are in enhancing accountability, particularly in healthcare and social services. These tools are really useful because they enable us to collect and to analyze data quickly and accurately, which not only improves things like transparency, but it also ensures that actions and interventions can be evaluated and adjusted in real time, which makes systems more responsive and accountable to the needs of community. In our research on the field in India, we were exploring how to, again, improve access to government benefits for internal seasonal migrant workers. So we collaborated with civil society organizations to see how technological solutions can streamline services for these incredibly hard to reach and quote unquote invisible population. So for an example, we worked with an organization called Jan Sahas, which used an innovative mobile application to manage data from migrant households, which really sped up the process of checking scheme eligibility and also created this comprehensive database.
Hey, Alyssia, you mentioned so many different stakeholders who are part of that research. How can we bring all of these different groups together to work towards accountability and sustainability?
Excellent question, Jayden. Thank you for asking. Our research in India showed me firsthand how really important civil society organizations are. They're on the ground making sure that real stories and perspectives, especially from those most affected, get heard. They advocate for what communities really need, what they actually need, and make sure that sustainability efforts are really relevant and responsive to local situations. So from there, following civil society's lead, businesses have a role also in integrating these community-centered insights into their operations. By leveraging their resources, businesses can develop and scale sustainable practices that are in tune with the needs of the communities that they serve. And then lastly, governments play the super important role in ensuring that all parties meet their sustainability commitments. So they do this by monitoring progress, enforcing regulations, and also holding businesses and organizations accountable if they fall short. This not only helps keep projects on track, but it also ensures that there's transparency and trust in the process, which is really important for long-term success in any sustainability effort.
Hey, Sidney, you are about to attend the Reach Alliance session at the 2024 Collaborative Convening in Kumasi in Ghana. Can you share a little bit about why you think it's important to have convenings like this for youth?
As an occupational therapist myself and an early career researcher, I must say I'm super excited to be attending, especially that there's also like a health collaborative convening there in Kumasi. So it's a really awesome space that I would want to see myself in. You may know that young people on the African continent constitute over 65% of the population. And definitely that means meaningful engagement of young people, like we'll see at this convening, can really amplify the impact of programs and interventions.
Let's say that someone is listening to this podcast right now and they're in a position of authority or in a position of leadership somewhere. What would you say to them in regards to, encouraging them to listen to the voices of young leaders? Like, how can they do that?
We might have all probably heard the phrase that give young people a seat at the table, give them a voice so many times. If they were a leader that I would have to speak to right now, I'd say we really need to address some of these power dynamics head on. They mustn't be brought as participants, but also as co-creators of solutions. Shreya really articulated this excellently, and she mentioned that meaningful youth engagement is so much more than just token participation. Young people having the autonomy to make decisions, full participation, full partnership. And we know this approach works. We've seen it with the Reach Alliance teams working across the globe, where we set our own research agendas and pursue questions that are meaningful to us, and we make decisions based on that.
Hey, before we kind of get towards our finishing up, I want to play a game. Can everyone close your eyes? And if you're listening to this podcast, you can join us. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine that we are in the year 2060 It's 30 years since we changed or clarified the goals post 2030, and they've worked. You see right now a better world than what we saw 30, 40, or 50 years ago.
A lot more greenery. I think I saw a big biodiversity restoration. Possibly large technology advancement. I'm seeing flying cars, possibly, maybe a little more dystopian world point, but definitely more. If we have achieved all our goals, I think more just society where it's not just human rights we're caring about. We're thinking of plant rights. We're thinking of climate being as important to us, animals being as important to us.
So I don't see high tech. I don't see sustainability, like large efforts towards sustainability. Those aren't the primary things that I'm looking at. I hope to see peace in conflict zones, things like reduced inequality, less poverty. That's my ideal outlook for, I guess, post 2060 years. That's just giving a little bit of a different perspective.
Sydney, you see a better world. What do you see?
What I see right now, I think, is an eco society, as highlighted by my colleagues, and also I see a healthier people and a healthier planet, with technology really connecting all these different parts of our ways of living together.
My hopes for our global community of researchers, and as we look towards the REACH conference this November, as we actually go about the business of researching and creating a better world, as I reflect on our time together, I'm struck with a couple of things. Number one, that our learning is meant to do something. Shreya, you talked about how education is supposed to lead to action. We talked about the SDG agenda, and hey, life is tricky. It's easy to feel pessimistic about the future post 2030, but the future is shaped actually, in many ways by those who combine their optimism and their, courageous belief that there can be something better tomorrow. So as we head towards United Nations Day and we think about the actionable steps that people can take, I want to read some words that we shared at the United Nations at the AFS Youth Assembly in New York just a couple of months ago. Young people all over the world, you are talented, compassionate, and resilient. You are leaders. We'll always have that, but we won't always be young. Let us to take our places with the aim of listening, contributing as best we can, to advocate for and implement change, and crucially, to create more seats at the table. Thank you all for joining us today. You're listening to another episode of the REACH Alliance podcast, Insights to Impact. This has been Shreya, Alyssia, Sydney, and myself, and it's been a pleasure to be with you.